Welcome. Good afternoon, good evening, and for some of you, good morning. Hope everyone is enjoying the Microsoft Ignite conference. This is the Ask the Expert session, which is a follow-on to the presentation that many of you may have just seen, which is Bring Harmony to Work and Life with Productivity and Wellbeing Insights in Microsoft Teams. My name is Scott Rubel. I'm a Group Program Manager on the Workplace Analytics team, and I'm joined by a group of other deep experts who are really eager to answer all of your questions about the announcements which you just saw. First, however, we have a little bit of housekeeping. I'm sure all of you have seen the Microsoft Code of Conduct and committed it to memory. There might be a little quiz at the end of this, but just in case you haven't seen it, here it is again. Now I'd like to introduce the group that'll be joining us to answer all of your questions. The folks on camera today will be Daniel Popper, Leanna Robe, Antanu Banerjee. Not on camera, but still helping answer many of the questions will be Florian Seegers, Natalie Singer-Volush, as well as Abhinav Singh. So we had a lot of announcements today, and I'd encourage you to start putting in questions into the chat window for anything that is interesting to you, and please upvote anything that is top of mind. We'll be sure to get to those right away. So to kick things off here, I just wanted, as I mentioned, we've announced many different things at the conference regarding our investments in Teams. And I'd like to hand this question off to Leanna here to talk about, just to kind of summarize what was announced and some of the highlights from that. So Leanna, can you take it away?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Lots of exciting things announced today with regard to well-being and productivity insights in Microsoft Teams. First, some of the personal productivity insights that I'm really excited about are the new Personal Insights app in Teams that will have ways for you to stay connected with your colleagues even when you're remote. So lots of great ways to build social capital, keep in touch, and stay on top of the commitments and requests that you've made to others. But one thing that I'm also looking forward to is virtual commute. So this will replace my old commute to the Microsoft campus, which was the time that I typically used to get in the right mindset to start the day as well as wind down at the end of the day. And that's exactly what virtual commute is designed to replicate. So it walks you through closing out your tasks at the end of the day, so that you can go into the end of your day feeling like you have a plan for tomorrow and you're not still thinking about those tasks when you're at home. It also has integration with meditation apps like Headspace to help you truly mindfully disconnect as you start your time at home. And then also giving you an opportunity to reflect on your day and just take a moment for yourself and to and reflect on the day that you had and what you hope to get out of tomorrow. We also have the personal briefing email from Cortana. We actually announced it last year, but it's now becoming generally available as of this month, so that's really exciting. And then we have lots of organizational insights coming to Teams as well. So new insights for managers and leaders to give them new visibility into the evolving way that we're working now that most of us are remote. And finally, we're refreshing the business continuity report as well, which is part of the Microsoft Productivity Score. And this will help customers measure how the move to remote work has affected the collaboration norms in their organization. So lots of exciting stuff.
Great, thanks, Leanna. I'm definitely going to be one of those people taking advantage of the virtual commute once it comes out. We all could use that de-stressor at the end of the day. Got an interesting question here from Joe D. Basically, his question is, do we need workplace analytics to get the full set of metrics as well as MyAnalytics? That's a great question, and I think I'll hand this one off to Danny to take a crack at that.
Of course. Thank you very much, Scott, and thanks, Joe, for the question. The short answer is that yes, that the insights that are powered by Workplace Analytics will need a Workplace Analytics license to be set up to see everything that you saw in the demos to have them show up in Teams. But there are some more announcements that we hope to get to, but for right now, that's the answer, that we do need Workplace Analytics to be set up.
All right, thanks, Danny. We've got another one, another question that's getting a lot of votes here. It's around our meditation feature in Teams, and essentially they want to know more details about it, when we can use it, can we hear healing music, so on and so forth. So back to you, Leanna, on this one. Could you give us a few more details on what the meditation app's all about?
Yeah, these are great questions. It won't be available until early 2021, so we're still working through a lot of the details of what the experience will be like. But essentially, you'll have a catalog of different meditations that you can choose from, courtesy of Headspace, to either use during your virtual commute or use it like ad hoc throughout the day if you say you want to do a quick meditation before you present in a meeting, maybe to calm your nerves or something like that, as well as recurring time for meditation if it's, you know, a personal goal maybe of yours to spend more time in mindfulness activities and things like that. But that's about as specific as I can get right now. It's something we're actively working on that we're really excited about, and we should have more information at a later date.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Leanna. I wanted to touch on something that Kamal talked about in her presentation earlier, and that was about privacy and how we have built in deep capabilities around privacy and ensuring that that is successful in the organization. So Anthony, I want to pass this one off to you to talk a little bit about some of the hardening that we've done with regarding privacy and the controls that customers will have.
Sure. Thanks, Scott. So we take privacy very seriously in Office 365. Both compliance and privacy by design. Those are kind of fundamental principles that we abide by. And so we have a set of Office 365 data handling standards, and the way that we manage the storage and the data and the insights are all consistent with our customer promises that we outlined there. Now, specific to the insights that we surface to users, we make sure that all of our personal insights are private to you as an individual, so that anything that you see, any insights that we derive, any recommendations we make, those are things that only you get to see, nobody else, not your manager, not your organization. For the organizational insights, the way it works is that we have a lot of controls on those, so that you have, as a customer of ours, as an organization, you have ways to manage who gets to see what. And we also have this very powerful feature that we call differential privacy that we built in. And so that way, we can make sure that through fairly rigorous techniques that managers only get to see aggregate insights for their teams, and only if their teams are larger than a certain size, and only if certain controls are in place. And because of the differential privacy, what that means is that there's no way to back out what individuals have been up to or what they're doing based on the aggregate insights. We believe that the way we've implemented that differential privacy, it's state of the art right now. And so we're all of that just to say that we take both compliance by design and privacy by design super seriously, and we're always making sure that that kind of guides everything that we do.
Great, thank you, Antanu. Got another question back to Leanna on this. This is again from Joe D, and he's asking, with the integration with apps like Headspace, can we use our existing corporate license, or is a premium add-on that separate?
I believe this does not require a Headspace subscription. We will have a set of like a predefined set of meditations that will be available through this partnership. If you have a Headspace subscription, then the way you would like normally use Headspace will probably give you access to a lot more content that Headspace has available through their subscription. But for this partnership, it won't require any additional cost, but it will be just a limited set of meditations that we offer as part of the team's experience.
Okay, great. Thanks, Leanna. So we've got another question here, and this one I'm going to pass off to Danny. It's from Jenny, and it's basically, I'm from Germany, and majority of new features would need to be presented and approved by Works Council. How does Microsoft support such processes, especially when it comes to workplace analytics? It's not allowed to measure team or individual performance. So Danny, if you could fill us in on those details, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Scott. I'd love to take a crack at this. So as you point out, you know, the works councils, especially in places like Germany and elsewhere in Europe, are definitely something we've seen have a lot of friction in front of deployments in those regions, in those countries. We have, however, at the same time, seen actually a lot of success as we've been able to explain how workplace analytics works, and especially a lot of the privacy features that Atanu has been talking about. We've actually had quite a bit of success with the work councils that we've been working with. I obviously cannot be specific about individual customers or engagements, but we have seen it internally and externally that when we go out with in front of a works council, we get a lot of positive response to the way that we take everything very seriously. In terms of specific resources that we can support with, I'm probably going to have to follow up with some of the go-to-market folks or maybe and the marketing side. But what I can say on the product team is that I've been involved in some of the engagements and they've all gone very well as we've explained the way that we take it so seriously, and to be frank, just like even the technical effort that we put into not just meeting obligations, but going above and beyond and making sure that it's the spirit and not just the letter of the regulations.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Danny, for filling us in on that. Let's see here. We've got a question from Rob G. The question is there a vision for evolving MyAnalytics in the future with more functionality specific to well-being? And I know this is a space that Leanna cares deeply about, so I'm going to pass it back to Leanna.
I definitely do. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities here, and we are not shying away from them. Some of the other features that I love in MyAnalytics right now that have a well-being flavor to them are in the Insights Outlook add-in. You can go through a guided flow to help you plan your time away from work, including notifying your recent collaborators and setting up your away message and things like that. We're also doing a lot more with delay delivery of email messages so that you can avoid pinging people late at night. But if you're one of those people that just needs to triage their email in the evening, you can still get it off your plate without putting it on others when it may be inconvenient for them. So yeah, definitely looking at lots of other ways to incorporate well-being as part of the experience. And we'll be doing a lot more with virtual commute and the reflect experience or emotional check-in. And yeah, I like so much to do. It's exciting.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yes, you're just scratching the surface of the possibilities in this space, and it's exciting to see the potential, especially in this time and age when everybody's working from home and the stress that everyone is in. So that's all great. We're looking forward to seeing that in the future. So let's see. We have another question here. It's from an anonymous poster. The question is, can you control what data from WPA is available in Teams? And so, Antanu, I'd like to hand this one off to you.
So the question is, how do we control the set of organizational data that surfaces within the app? So, so just as in the web experience for organizational insights, you get a set of controls around role management and thresholds and things like that, and you can kind of control who gets to see what and what insights. And all of the administrative and privacy and data security controls that I mentioned before, those same set of controls also extend over to the new insights that we surfaced up in the Teams app. And so you should imagine that the organizational insights in Teams will operate in a way that's very similar to the way that you see them today in the web experience. The same set of settings, the same administrative controls. The same set of insights for the most part.
All right, thank you, Antanu. So let's see, we've got another question around governance. This is from Rob G. And the question is, how do we properly govern our workforce goals when presented with so much data from MyAnalytics? The common feedback we get is that our users see all the data and percentages, but they don't know what their goals should be. So Leanna, could you take a stab at answering this one?
Yeah, I think, with MyAnalytics, the data that you see is definitely going to be very personal to you and One person's meeting hours may not be ideal for another person in a different type of role or in a different business or even in a different, work culture. So definitely understand that a one size fits all to what's good and bad doesn't work. We've been working really hard on MyAnalytics at not just providing these numbers, but also providing inline suggestions and real-time actions that you can take to really take control of your calendar and your day to make, to help you have the best day at work. So I think what we've learned over the years is that you can't just have these numbers that tell you, this is how much time you spend in meetings, these are how many emails you sent, but actually understanding like what are the changes that you can make and why do those changes matter. So I think it's about, looking at the numbers and asking yourself if they make sense to you, if you feel like that amount of collaboration or the size of your network makes sense for the role and the work that you do, but then also trying out all the different assistance features to help you make the most of your day. And if you are trying to curb some of those numbers, seeing which ones might help you move in the direction that works for you.
Great, thank you, Leanna. We've got another question from an anonymous poster. The question is, are there any benchmarks to what people should be using for things such as collaboration time or focus time in that nature? And I'll actually take this question. This is a very common question, like benchmarks. What's good, what's bad? And we have looked at this. We actually have done studies and we've partnered with outside agencies to look at what is considered good in that regard. And in future iterations of our product, we will be incorporating benchmarks or best of breed type classifications. We have in our best practices, if you go into the product, you click through to our best practices, you'll be able to see some of those recommendations, and those are backed by actual studies that have been done with particular customers. Okay. So keep your posts coming in the Teams chat. We'd love to hear your thoughts and keep upvoting those. There's another question that we raised in the presentation, or Kamal talked about a little bit in terms of the actual signals that come into the product and how we actually digest those and turn them into metrics. And so, Anthony, I'd like you, if you wouldn't mind, just talk about how we ingest those signals and generate actual meaningful metrics out of them.
Sure. So everything that we do, all of our insights in both for personal insights and organization insights, they're built on a foundation, and that's the Microsoft Graph. And the Microsoft Graph is this amazing collection of all of the data and the signals that get generated from users just operating within Microsoft 365. And it's like this flywheel. The more that users put in, the more useful the graph gets and the more value that we can provide both to the user and to the organization. And the way we do that is that we're generating signals. So everything that you do when you use Outlook or you use Teams or you're just engaging with Office 365, that signal comes to us inside the Microsoft Graph, and then that's where we collect it from there. And then what we do is from those signals we generate the metrics. And these are the metrics that you see in the insights. But as you know, raw metrics aren't useful. And so what we try to do is we turn those metrics into insights. And insights are the things that you see inside the dashboard about accelerating change or fostering innovation. As Scott mentioned, we've done a fair amount of research, both internally within an organization as well as partnering with institutions outside like Harvard and Stanford, where we look at some of these the insights and the metrics, and we see how best to make useful to users and to organizations. And hopefully that answers the question. So I want to talk about the nuts and bolts of how we actually collect the signals out of the graph, and we do the signal and the metric and the insight generation. But you can be sure that it's a very large data problem, and we have a whole team of data scientists and data engineers working at making sure that pipeline of collecting the signal stays healthy and that we're able to generate meaningful insights from them.
Awesome, thank you, Anthony. Let's see, we have another question here from an anonymous poster, and it says, are there plans to allow the aggregated data to be made available to get an overall view for the organization? So I'll take this question. In Kamal's presentation, she talked about insights presented at the personal, the manager level, as well as the organizational leader level. And so once we release the Teams app, you will have a view into the entire organizational metrics of how the company is performing. Also, today you have access through your administrator to a report which we refer to as the business continuity report. This is nested within the productivity score in the admin center. And so you can access that today and take a look at an organizational wide view of the insights in your organization. The scope of it is around organizational resilience and business continuity. Again, trying to give you insights into how your organization is dealing with working from home situations and things of that nature. All right, so another thing that was brought up in the presentation earlier was a reflect on the day. It's another feature within the Teams experience. And so Leanna, could you tell us a little bit more about the reflect on the day and the inspiration behind that feature?
Yeah, there's actually, there's two pieces of value to me when it comes to this feature. One is there have been studies that have shown that even just the act of taking the time to reflect is a great way to increase mindfulness and boost your sense of well-being, just taking that moment to reflect. But this, us being MyAnalytics, of course, will also give you insight into your history of reflection, so you can see over time how your mood has been trending. So it's not just, you know, helping you pause to just take a moment for gratitude or just to check in with yourself, but also understanding what that looks like over time. And so it'll be part of the Teams app. You can reflect anytime that you want to. If you're you decide that you want to add a reflection. You can also set up recurring reminders, and we'll send you notifications to remind you to check in with yourself and save a reflection. And then it's also, like I mentioned, integrated into the virtual commute. So at the end of the day, you'll have that moment to check in with yourself at the end of your workday. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay, awesome. So I've got another question for you, Leanna. This is from Hero, so keep you on camera here. Wellbeing features will come to Teams next year. Could you share some tips to avoid burnout before that?
Oh man. Let's see. I think you know, easier said than done for some of these, but I can share a little bit of my own experience. I think that the boundary between work and home is important. I try to, you know, leave even if I'm, you know, working near my laundry room and I hear the dryer go off, I try not to do housework in the middle of the day because I want to stay in that work mindset. That way, when I enter my home mindset, I can mindfully choose to leave work at work and keep the two separate. So trying not to mix the two as much as possible has been really helpful. Something else that my team does is every other Friday we have what we call like a recharge day, and we've used it for just the general rule is don't book meetings on that day. So you at least have one day every 2 weeks, which I know doesn't seem like a lot, but it's better than nothing, to really have an extended period of time to get, you know, larger projects started, or to think about something that maybe you just haven't had a lot of time to like sit down and do some critical thinking for. Or if you need to, you know, go in a little late, leave a little early because of kids or appointments or things like that that you haven't been able to get to, we have that flexibility. And so that both for myself and just having that understanding on our team has been definitely a really helpful practice that we've employed. And then last thing I'll add is definitely miss, you know, some of the social aspects of being in the office. And we have a team water cooler every week where we play a game online or, you know, share GIFs or funny videos or things, just things we probably would have shared together in the office, but now have to share virtually. And my favorite game that we've played so far is Whose Fridge Is It?, where we all had to take photos of our fridge, and one person collected them all and then posted them in the Teams chat, and we had to guess whose fridge it was. And it sounds like a weird game, but it was actually really fun, and I, definitely was a great opportunity to bond with the team, which can be hard when you're remote, not seeing each other in person. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you, Leanna. So this next question is going to go to Danny. So Danny's challenge is to top Leanna's last answer. The question is specific about MyAnalytics, but I think we can broaden it to be both MyAnalytics and Workplace Analytics. So this is from Scott, and his question is, have you considered a way to integrate interruptions in person when at the office or by phone? Because I have a lot of interruptions, and my analytics claims that I have more focus time than I really do.
Right. So Scott, is there sure that wasn't you posing
No.
question as the manager in the team? Yeah, so that's really actually a really great question. One of the silver linings, if that's something that we can even talk about, is that what we've been able to do in the past few months is actually be able to start targeting the coefficient between the data that we pull up and the actual data. Now that everybody's been forced to home, we actually have we've always had this sense that time in the office is not being as accurately reflected when we only looked at your calendar. And now that we actually have everybody being forced to work through Teams, we actually are able to track that much more closely. So in the past few weeks, we have actually started rolling out some of these metrics, these Teams metrics into Workplace Analytics. And we're able to now measure, when IMs come in and when IMs are red, and we're able to bring those together and stitch them together into our existing Workplace Analytics metrics. The specific question about sort of micro interruptions is a little bit harder. As Atanu mentioned, we have a rather large data science team that works to make sure that the metrics we have are really both accurate and useful. The initial sense that we got from looking at all of these read signals and IM signals was that days got too fragmented to be able to do anything useful with the data, which itself is a little bit of an indication about what it's like. But the short answer is we are looking at it, our data science team is looking at to see how we can try to better capture the focus pieces. There are some really long threads that we've had back and forth on the team about how to make it most useful and expose it in the best way. But we are absolutely looking at it and rolling out what we have as it becomes the most accurate and usable that we can make it.
Great, thank you, Danny. We are approaching the hour, and I want to do a quick call to action, then we'll take one more question. So the call to action is, please reach out to your account manager about Workplace Analytics and scheduling a workshop. There's some really great learnings that you can do in that workshop, which we basically walk you through the whole thought methodology of marrying the capabilities of our product as well as the business objectives you have in your organization. So please reach out and schedule that Workplace Analytics workshop. Also, please go ahead and install the new Insights app for Teams when it's available in October. This will give you an introduction to all the new capabilities that we'll be rolling out. And then we have several other calls to action in terms of resources that you can learn even more information about. So for our last question, I'm going to pass this back to Leanna again. And this one I think some of us can relate to. It says, this is from Jen, MyAnalytics doesn't learn, does it? I'm constantly moving focus time to afternoons, but the next week it will throw them wherever I have a 2-hour slot. So could you enlighten us on that one?
Yes, this is a very common critique that we get from users, so you are not alone. I'm glad that we have a fan of the focus plan who's using focus time. That's actually another great way to avoid burnout, is making sure you have that time for deep work on your calendar. But it would obviously be better if it was at a time of day that works best for you and how you like to work. So yeah, it's something we're working on. We are working on more settings for the focus plan, including being able to decide the duration that works best for you, as well as time of day that works best for you. So we are trying to learn and improve that experience, and we hear you. So yeah, coming soon.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Leanna. I think we're pretty much at time, so I just want to call out, please take advantage of the resources that are posted on the screen here and have a great rest of the conference. Thank you very much for all your attention.